icons out there in indie pod land. How are you all doing today? Today is a Wisdom Wednesday. Pop in the chat where you're watching from, where you're listening from, what you're up to today, and how I and our guests today for Wisdom Wednesday can be of service. Don't forget, this is a big one. Indie PodCon 6 is taking place this weekend, September 12th and 13th. Go to indiepodcasters.com/icon6. Tickets are on sale now. And yeah, it's merch is available too over at youricongear.com for the virtual conference. So if you haven't gotten your ticket, please do so. Before we get to the event. It's 80s themed. It's going to be fun. I've been putting together some slides and things to add to the thing. We got stickers to give away. We have prizes donated by the awesome Larry Roberts from Readily Random Graphics, as well as Jody Krangle for voice acting. Oh, I'm like hitting my mic here. And yeah, so if you when we do the Creative Podcast Workshop, if you are on the winning team, which I'll explain more of that when we get into it at the event, if you're on the winning team, then you're going to get a piece of graphics work done from Larry, and you're going to get voice acting, professional voice acting work done from Jody. So very cool stuff. It's a big upgrade for any podcaster to be able to get both of those things. So you could get like a new media kit, you could get a new cover artwork, you could get so many other things, as well as get a new intro, outro, commercial, whatever. Excuse me. Anything to that effect. So it's gonna be a great time. You're gonna want to join us. It's held on Zoom, so we'll be face to face for the entirety of the event, and should be as if we were all together. Unfortunately, we won't be all together. Also, this episode is brought to you by IndiePod University. Go over to indiepodu.com to learn to launch, grow, and monetize your podcast with us. Learn all the details over at indiepodu.com. Our guest today was a guest just a couple of weeks ago. We had such a great conversation. We went way over time. And we started to go down a rabbit hole of Facebook ads, so I wanted to bring her back. Please, everybody give super claps in the chat for Super Jamie Palmer. Woo! What is going on, Jamie? How are you?
I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having me back.
Oh, of course. I'm excited to talk based. I'm always excited to learn too, because there's things I don't know either. Just because I've been doing it for a long time doesn't mean I know it all, because I don't specialize in it or work in it every single day. And things like Facebook are changing every single week. So
yeah,
it's good to have these conversations and learn. And if you have questions, please drop them in the chat, as well as where you're listening from, what you're up to, and all of that. And I apologize for my attire today. I came back in from running to be able to be here for 10 o'clock, and I'm probably going to go back out afterwards because I'm feeling it today. It's going real. I'm not going to let it go. So, Jamie, for anybody who didn't see you last time here on the show, just give a quick rundown about you, your agency, what you do.
Yeah, I'm a digital business strategist. So I work with entrepreneurs to help them grow and scale their businesses online. So we help them create systems and strategies, and with the mindset and the technology, and then, take an action to move forward.
Love it. So, and you've been doing all of this for, was it 17 years?
Yeah, 17 years this month. It's crazy.
That's awesome. Congratulations.
Thanks. I don't know how that's possible, but
I know. Well, time flies. I was thinking this morning about something, and I'm like, I can't believe it's already been 2 years since the thing I'm thinking about. So time literally, especially right now with COVID, it's like this whole year is kind of, it's slow, but when you think about it, it's added like almost a year already into everything else you know what I mean? Like, it's a whole year that you can add to the time warp. Yeah, it's crazy. Time warp. It distorts reality. In fact, there's a video that I think Vox just put up talking about how this year has distorted reality. because of the time warp that we're stuck in.
And you would think it'd be slower because like you're not really leaving your house that much, but it's just not.
Yeah, it's not. It's really not. It depends. I mean, it depends on where you're at, what you're doing, if you're taking advantage of the situation. How it just depends on where you're at with it. But for me, it's definitely going by fast, and
Yeah, same.
it's mostly been a positive thing. So not for everybody, unfortunately.
Yeah.
But so far, knock on wood, it's been a positive thing. Hopefully, it'll continue to be a positive thing.
Yeah.
So anyway, Facebook ads
Yes.
for podcasting. Now, let's talk about, like, let's give an example of somebody who has a podcast that wants to like, I want to get more reach. Is Facebook ads for me?
Yes. Yes, but it really needs to be done in the right way. I think a lot of times I hear people, I mean, I was literally just talking with this client, and we don't really do done for you work anymore. Most of what we do is consulting or one of our group programs. And I was talking to this client who I've worked with for several years, and they're like, well, can't we just hit the boost button? And I'm like, no, just that's basically like take however much money you're putting behind that boost and flush it down the toilet. Cause like, that's how the boost button works. So boost, don't do it. So oftentimes people come to me and they're like, well, I boosted this post or I ran this ad, and they don't even realize like there's a whole entire ad manager section of Facebook. So yes, you should absolutely be leveraging ads to gain more exposure on your podcast. However, you want to make sure you're doing it in the right way, because like using that boost button is not the right thing to do. What you actually want to do is if you're doing your podcast live, like on Facebook as a Facebook Live, you actually want to take that and turn it into an ad, or you want to drive traffic to your blog where you've embedded your podcast.
Yeah. And also making sure that you figured out who the target market is that you're sending it to, which you can figure out pretty quickly if you just spend 10, 15, 20 bucks on an ad and you wait 5, 6, 7 days. You'll see like who's being shown the ad and then who's actually interacting with it, and then you can start to like close in who you're going to distribute that to.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different things that you can do in terms of audiences, right? So you can say, like, here are the demographics. My people are between this age, and they like Libsyn as an example, right? Which is a podcasting service, just using you as the example because it's easy.
Yeah.
And they're Facebook page admins, right? So you could take those demographics and that information and create that into an audience. That's one way in which you could do that. And Facebook has limited that much more than they used to in the past, but there still is a ton of information on the back end that you can leverage. Like you can get as specific as what someone's net worth is, what age their kids are, where they went to college, what degree that they had, what kind of car that they drive, do they own a house, do they rent a house, have they traveled in this area recently? So there's like almost creepy level stuff that you can still target with that. So that's one way to create an audience. That's what I would call a cold audience. And then there is also data that you can collect by using the Facebook pixel and by using engagement on your Facebook page. And you can use that data to create, or your email list to create what's called a lookalike audience. And a lookalike audience is really, really powerful because if there are people on your website, they're more engaged than if you're trying to find that demographic with what you would find in a cold audience. These people are still cold, but they're more likely to be people who your people are.
Yeah. And I don't think that this stuff, I'm going to share my screen here. I don't think how long has the pixel analytics existed, because I don't recall this existing like a year or two ago.
It didn't. It's new.
Yeah. Okay.
It's very, very new. I actually think it's within the last 30 or 60 days. They really
Wow, is it
rolled that out
okay?
to everybody.
So
Yeah.
it just happened to be at the right time that I seen it, like when I started to separate my pixels away from superjoepardo.com and indiepodcasters.com, because it used to be one pixel. You'd get one pixel and then you have to specify like websites and stuff.
Yeah, so you have one pixel per ad account, and you can put that pixel on multiple websites. But they've had this in a beta form for probably about the last year and a half. They've just started rolling it out to users. I would say in the past, like I said, 30, 60, 90 days to everyone. But it's powerful information, and the cool thing about this is you can take this data and say, I want to create an audience that looks like people who have been pixeled by my site.
Yeah.
And that data that they gather there, you don't get any information of it because it's against the terms and the privacy policies, but you can
privacy policies. Yes. Okay.
You can use that information to create an audience and then run ads to that audience. And I think oftentimes people get discouraged when it comes to ads because they run an ad and they try it for a week and they're like, well, I didn't see any results. And then I'm always like, well, how much money did you spend? And they're like, oh, I spent $5 a day. And I'm like, okay, well, it's only, $35 that you've spent on ads, and you've run one ad to one audience with one type of content.
But it didn't work. Jamie, it didn't work. What am I supposed to do?
It's not enough data to make a decision, right? Like, let's just face it. It's not enough data to make an educated decision. And there's too many variables in that to determine whether it's working or not. You don't know if it's the audience, the copy, the content, there's just too many things going on in that. And so when I think about, okay, how can somebody gain more exposure with their podcast? There's two things. You're going to want to have a cold traffic ad. So you're going to want to take that podcast or that macro content, as I like to say, and you're going to want to run that to people who don't know who you are. So if you have data, use a lookalike audience. If you don't, then you're going to want to pull up those demographics, like we talked about, and run ads. Then you're also going to want to have retargeting ads in place if this is something you're planning on doing.
So real quick, you're talking about brand awareness ads, right?
Great question. It depends on what.
Because this is always the most most confusing part. Is like, what kind of thing do you want to run? Like,
Great question. So if you are, it depends on what you're doing, right? So for example, if you are doing like a live podcast, right, and you do it as a Facebook Live, you're going to want to choose video views for your cold traffic.
Okay.
However, if you are driving traffic to your podcast that lives on a blog, you're going to want to choose traffic.
Okay. So brand awareness is literally just showing up in as many people's feeds as possible. Like,
correct.
They're not probably going to click on it, but at least they get the idea. Like, they might see it 6 or 7 times and at least acknowledge that it exists.
Correct. So I tend to stay away from those two categories on that left-hand side for awareness, because those also, Facebook knows who's more likely to like or comment or engage, right? And so they're going to take that, and with the demographics that they gave you, they're going to put that in front of people who are going to like, who are going to comment. Now, if your goal is to get a lot of likes and comments, sure, you can absolutely do that. But for me, that's not necessarily like, okay, great, I don't need a whole bunch of vanity likes. I don't need a whole bunch of vanity comments. I would prefer to have people who are actually going to watch the videos, right? Or actually going to click the link and go through to the website, right? Because ultimately that's the goal. You want them to take that next step in that client journey. And oftentimes when people run ads, they have this tendency to like, let me put all sorts of links to all sorts of things. And it's like, no, every single marketing campaign should have a singular focus, right? Each campaign should have one focus. It shouldn't have, here's a link to this and a link to this. It's like, no, no. Because then you can't measure your results. So ultimately, if your goal is to get more views of your podcast that lives on your blog, then you're going to drive traffic to that place. If your goal is, if you're somebody who's doing lives as a podcast, then you're going to want those video views. So for people who are like listening, and if you know Stephen Green of Make the Grade, he's doing an ad right now for video views, right? And then in that video view ad, the goal is then to drive traffic to sign up for his conference on Thursday, right? And so it's a singular focus, right? Like, here's the video, you want to click through and take this action. So same idea for anybody that's listening. If you do Facebook Lives, you want to use video views, and you can create an ad out of an existing post. And most people don't realize that.
So I don't think I've heard that, but where? So all right. So if I'm going to do this, I'm going to hit continue.
And then you pick your audience right there, whatever you wanted to do.
We'll just let's see, podcast launch audience.
Then you're going to want to hit manual placements.
Where am I not seeing manual placements?
So placement.
Okay, yeah.
And then you're going to want to deselect Instagram and your audience network.
Yeah, that's.
And Messenger. And then you're also going to need to deselect the in-stream videos, because those are only 30 seconds. And if you're doing
like an ad.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow.
So
okay.
Keep scrolling down.
Yep.
And then you're going to hit continue. So this is where you're going to be able to
use existing posts.
Yeah.
Okay.
So right
is that relatively new?
No.
No.
I've been doing that for years.
Huh.
But most people
never noticed it because I was always creating my own ads.
Yeah.
Not
So then,
like an existing post.
So then you would go and you'd hit select post right there. And then you just pick whichever one of those that you want to use.
Since this one.
Yeah. So since you're doing video views, you'd want to click on that, and then you would just hit, you can add a button here, right? So you could link that to signing up for the podcasting conference this weekend.
Yeah.
So you'd put the URL in there.
Sign up. Yeah.
Update post. And you can't edit any of the copy in here. So you have to do that prior to getting this all set up.
Yeah.
So again, you could add captions, but you're not going to be able to add captions while it's live, obviously. And then what you would do is you just hit the confirm button and you'd be good to go. But you had $100 a day budget set.
Yeah. I'm good right now.
But ultimately, it's really that simple. The only thing that gets tricky when you're doing ads for videos, to make sure that you get the people who engage in that video inside of an audience, is you actually have to create audiences for video views in your Facebook Ads Manager.
Oh, so like go back to, okay, well, that was not what I wanted.
Nope. So this is all, everything you had here was all set up properly. However, if you want the people who see this ad to go into your warm audience, you have to create a custom audience. So you're going to click that video button right there. Nope, you were right. So create new. Yep.
Custom audience.
And then see use Facebook sources video. Yep.
And then people have viewed at least.
I usually say 10 seconds or 25% of the video. And then you're going to do, you can choose the amount of days. So the cool thing with this is you can say anybody that's viewed 10% of my video in the past 30 days.
Okay.
And then you have to.
So this would be serving up a second ad to those people that watched that video I just shared.
So this wouldn't be a second ad. This is just what we're just creating an audience right now. So you want to, the weird thing about creating the video audience is every time you make a new video, you have to add it to that audience. So you hit choose videos there. People who viewed at least 10 seconds of your videos, choose videos. So you have to go through and add all the videos.
Okay.
And every time you do a new video, you have to update that audience. But this would be considered your warm audience, which is really, really awesome for creating retargeting ads. So I know you've got your podcast university, right? What you'd want to do is you'd want to go through and create your video audiences for all of these. And every time you create a new video, you add that to the audience so that it continues to grow.
Yeah. So, okay. And then you can edit those audiences somewhere else in here.
Yeah. So I can show you how to do it, but I always call the name like 10-second video views and then the date, because you can go through and every time you update it, you just change the date. So you know that it's all up to date. Yeah. So you go create audience, custom audience.
Custom audience. Okay. I see.
And then you do the same thing here.
Yeah. So, okay. So that's really powerful, especially if you're doing video as a podcast and then, creating that audience to serve other ads too, because you know that they've been engaged enough to at least watch 10 seconds of your video. That might be worth serving up hey, come get this free lead magnet, since you obviously have spent at least 10 seconds with me.
Exactly.
Come get this lead magnet. Right. So that's what I'm trying to to show people like that.
It's layers.
Stepping stones, right?
Yeah, it's layers.
Yeah. It's not most like people, one ad and done.
And retargeting ads tend to be very, very cheap, right? Because most people don't have a massive audience. So if you're super consistent with doing your Facebook Lives, one of the things that I always encourage people to do is, take a Facebook Live, put $50 behind it every week, choose different audiences, have fun with it. Then have those retargeting ads in place to run to anybody who has visited your website or watched more than 10 seconds of your video or done any of those things. And so you would run those ads to those people, basically anybody who's engaged in the page in the past, say 30 or 60 days. You don't want to keep running the ads to the same people over and over again. Eventually you're just going to say, well, they didn't sign up, so sayonara, they're not my people, right? So I think that's the thing that a lot of people don't really understand when it comes to Facebook ads. And then you can even take it one step further. So when you're say you're selling seats to your membership or whatever, you can create another audience that's like anybody who's visited the sales page but didn't check out. And you have the ability to do that in Facebook. So you can say, I want to make an audience of anybody that's visited the sales page but didn't purchase, and then run ads to those people. So like when you go to a store, like I was on the LL Bean website the other day looking for something, and their ads have been following me all around the internet. And it's like, oh, buy these things. It's like that product that I was looking at. Those are retargeting ads because it knows I visited that page on that website. And so it's serving up that ad to me to try and encourage me to make that buying decision.
I got a question about that. Is there teams of people doing this for every single item, or is there like an automated process for that?
So
because it seems like an awful lot of stuff. Like Amazon is got follows around obviously and is always serving up ads to things. Sometimes things I've already bought. Like I already bought the thing and it's still serving me up ads as if I didn't.
Yeah. So you can upload your catalog of products. There's a lot of different ways in which you can do that. Similar to, there's like feed connections where you can, Amazon, I'm assuming, has a custom coded RSS feed, if you will,
I would think it's got to be automated because there's too many products.
But Shopify is very easy. So if you have a Shopify site, you just connect Facebook to your Shopify site and it'll download all your products and you can very simply run ads. There's a WordPress plugin for it too if you have WooCommerce.
WooCommerce plugin for that. Yeah.
But I mean, unless you're traditional retail, you probably want to create a custom ad for that, right? Because you don't, like, for you or me, we don't want to have like, buy this picture of this e-product, right? This digital product. It's not as sexy as like, hey, look at this sweater,
Yeah.
So it's different, right? So in the service-based industry or the information products business, I'm always like, grab your iPhone, right? And take a video of yourself talking to the camera and be like, hey there, so and so, I saw you visited the sales page and didn't check out. How come? Or like, you give them that
Yeah.
urgency to make that buying decision. But the reason why you do it like that on your phone vertically, which is not traditional, is that it's a pattern disrupt in the newsfeed, number one. And number two, when you're running a video ad, most people don't realize that it's actually an ad. They look at it as it's a video. Most people,
Yeah.
the average
Wow.
consumer doesn't realize that it's a video. I mean, an
I,
ad.
I hope everybody watching and listening understands how much value they're getting out of this, because I know I am. Hey Olga, how you doing? Thanks for joining us. And she's so pumped for this weekend. The ads we're discussing are on Facebook, and that is the correct. These
Yeah.
are on Facebook. Um, Yeah, no, that's that. Well, I noticed the pattern disrupt thing is powerful, right? Like, so some of my emails that I've been writing, I'll write one word in the title upside down, like I'll use an upside down text
Yeah.
rewriter so that it'll write that word upside down, and I'll pick a word that actually you can like make out and read upside
Yeah.
down. But the idea is that it forces you to like, hey, what's up with that, like why is that word
Yeah.
upside down? And I noticed it a few years ago. There was a store down in like Baltimore area, like the Arundel Mills Mall, and they had like these giant banners like at the front of the store. It was like, I don't know, like an Old Navy or something. They had these
Yeah.
giant banners. There was like four of them. They were all identical, but one of them was upside down. And I was like, I wonder if they did that on purpose or not.
Probably. Probably. It's pattern disrupt. It's basic like human psychology behavior 101
Yeah.
to draw that attention in. And in the
Yep.
online space, like it's so noisy, right? So like if you can make your ad not appear like an ad, number one, people are more likely to engage. And number two, if you make it personal and you make it like you are literally talking to them and it's not some formal, here I am in my perfectly curated office with my perfect microphone and all this sort of stuff. It creates that connection and that resonance that people want when they're making a buying decision.
So, is there a way to turn a Facebook group into an audience? Is that is that an option?
Not yet.
Not yet.
There are people who have that feature, but not everyone yet. There is
Okay.
also some people who are beta testing
Page.
being able to run ads inside Facebook groups.
Oh.
Not yet, not everyone, but it is slowly becoming available. I don't know if you remember or not, but this past year with the Super Bowl, Facebook ran ads for Facebook groups.
Yes. Yeah.
And I was like laughing because so many people in the online space were like, Facebook groups are dead, like they're going away, and this and that and the other. And I'm like, Facebook is literally rolling out new features for Facebook groups every single week. They're putting Super Bowl money ad spend behind Facebook groups. Facebook groups are not going away.
Yeah.
Like I actually think business pages are eventually going to be a thing of a past. It's going to be more like, here's your place where you have all your information, and it's almost going to be like a website. And the group will be where people engage inside of that. Like I think that it's going to be a slow process. So nobody needs to be alarmed. Like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
But I just, you can kind of slowly see it happening as you're watching things change and evolve, and how they're encouraging businesses to really leverage groups to create that community, because people don't feel as safe just simply posting on the internet, right? For everyone to see. I mean, I know for me, I've had people who, and I think I shared this with you, who have followed my page for a year, never liked anything, never commented, and then spent like $7,500 with me after one phone call. And I'm like, what? I didn't even know you were following. She's like, yeah. She's like, I see all your stuff first. Like, it's awesome. Yada, yada. Like, knew my whole life story. I was like, wow, I didn't realize I shared this much information. And you're just like, wow, okay. And it's because people are aware that when they comment and they like on a public page, anyone on the internet can see it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's the power. I mean, that's one of the reasons that we share things, though, and we keep our profiles open, is so that people can,
Yeah.
they can go to, like, find us on Google, and then, like, they click around and they happen to, oh, there's this profile, and they're, like, reading through the article, reading through the things that we're posting, or go to our Twitter, and they
Yeah.
don't follow it, but maybe they bookmark it because that's how they do. Like, there's
Yeah.
I'll tell you, Jamie, there is a network of people out there that are not on Facebook that are very hyperactive on the internet,
Yeah.
and very connected, and a lot of them are only communicating through the emails. And I know this because of my podcast and
Yeah.
people that have reached out to me, like, they don't have a Facebook, they don't have a Twitter, they don't have any of that stuff. They're just on the internet, like,
Yeah.
outside of all that world.
I surveyed, I want to say over 200 people who have 6-figure or more businesses. And one of the things, especially as you got over like 250,000, they did not consume their content on social media. Like, they didn't use Facebook or Instagram as the way in which they would find a podcast or the way in which they would find a YouTube. They would go to somebody's website and get on their email list, or they go find the podcast, or they go find the YouTube channel. But I was shocked by that, because I think a lot, I mean, not shocked, but it's interesting to see that behavior switch, because 5 years ago, that would have never been the case. And part of the reason why they're doing that now is they're like, there's just too much noise. Like, everyone, like, so many people have a side hustle now. So everyone's on the internet posting. Facebook user engagement and behavior is up 87% since March. And there is a ton of people just constantly posting on there. And so for somebody who's busy, they don't want to have to shuffle through all of this sort of stuff. They want to just be able to get it in their inbox, or go to this RSS feed, or go to this podcast and have it, like, automatically show up in their iTunes. And, I think oftentimes people think that, oh, well, email is important. Well, email is the only thing that you even own in the online space, and you don't even own it. You're leasing it.
No, you don't.
Okay?
Even if you, like, pay for your own email host, like, through your domain and all that, like, you don't actually own it.
You're leasing it. Like, I'm giving you my email address until you send an email that I don't like anymore, and I'm unsubscribing. Right? And I think that people often discount email, but email isn't, like, dead. You just have to be more strategic in how you send it. But I always say to people, like, use Facebook ads to gain more warm followers and get them on your list, right? Because the money is in the list. Right? I know with great specificity, I can email my list if I have a new product and sell something.
It's funny that you bring all that up, because we were just talking about that on Monday on the Business Geeks podcast with Sam, Jen, and I, and all, like, the whole thing was about email marketing and all that. And we actually need to go. We're going to end up revisiting all of that, because we didn't even get into, like, the how, about, like, going in about how we go and get the emails and all that stuff, and really get into it. So, like, we talked over almost an hour about it, and, like, only still just scratched the surface about email marketing. And I agree. I mean, Sam was like, I'm going to put my foot down and say that it's more important than your website. Starting the email list. I did the same thing. And she shut me down. I'm telling you. She's like, you can get sales from your email list. You probably won't get sales from your website. You got to have the email list first.
I disagree, because I get leads off of my website on a regular basis. But I also...
Well, if you're just getting started and you don't know how to do websites...
Yeah, I mean, I think you need a one-pager. It's so easy to create a one-pager today, in today's day. Like, today's age with the website, like, there's no excuse.
But a good one. I mean, hell, I'm still trying to figure it out, right? Like, it's ever changing, like, it's a quest that you're never going to really complete, because you're always going to be looking for that little bit of a bump, a little bit more juice out of it.
Yeah. So, but I always say, look, building an online business is an ecosystem. It's a living, breathing thing, right? So, like, if you take a step back from this, back in the day, like the Mad Men era days, almost everything happened in an office or in a storefront or in a specific location, right? And that location had a culture to it, right? It had a look, it had a feel, it had elements of your brand, it had people in it, right? And we don't operate in that way in the online space. So your website and your social media and your online presence is that location, right? And when you think about an office building, most office buildings or most retail stores don't keep the same thing in the window all the time,
Right. Like
right? It's
2 months might be the longest you
right.
would get it, because
This
then
is
it's like the next season's coming up.
right. And it's the same thing with your website or your social media. It's an evolution, right? It's an evolution of you as a business owner. And it's also an evolution of, hey, what is working to create conversions at this point in time? And I think oftentimes people get themselves so overwhelmed over making it perfect. And it's like, it's just, this is a progress. Like, get this to a place where you feel good about it and move on to the next thing, because it's never ever going to be perfect, because it's always changing. And you have to look at it as your retail storefront, as if you were in a mall, versus looking at it as, here's this static brochure that I'm going to hand out for the next 10 years.
Yeah, 10 years is that's a long time.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah,
if you think about it though, right? If you think about the 1960s, right? They created an ad, and that ad campaign would need to last years because it was so expensive to create.
True.
But it's not like that anymore, right? So we're in a way different environment. And so when you think about like how easy it is to create a website or how easy it is to create a graphic, leveraging that ability of ease, you need to kind of like give yourself some leeway in terms of the perfection piece, right? Because it's not necessarily like, here's this campaign that's going to be in this magazine that comes out once a quarter.
Yeah, that's an eternity.
Right. It's completely different than what it used to be, right? It's just different. And I think you have to adapt to that. And I think all of these things, as I talk about, it's an ecosystem, and they all build on each other, and they all feed each other, and they all either nurture and help you grow, or, you've got some weeds in there, which kind of like take over, or you create something that's more complex than it needs to be, and people get confused, and therefore they don't move forward in that client journey, and that ecosystem doesn't actually grow. It's a balance, and it's not it's an art and a science, right? Because there's the art of the marketing piece and the content that you're delivering, and then there's the science of what is working.
Yeah.
It's the science of how to actually run the Facebook ad.
Well, right. Well, yeah, because I mean, we're people are so used to now, just like they just flick up, and then there's more, there's something else. And I remember years ago, I interviewed Jim Hill from Jim Hill Media, and he's like, the time before the internet was so much easier, because like now, if it might take a year and a half of research to like produce an article. Like I had to get all the stories straight, but I had to do a bunch of interviews, like get because he does everything on Disney. So it's like I had to interview like all these different Imagineers and like put it in chronological, and then put it into an article, and like you chuck it into the black hole of the internet. It's like, great, what else you got? And it's like, that took a year and a half to create. Like, what do you mean? What else I got? Like, I gotta start from scratch again.
Right.
And the next big story, like, it's the internet just is a consumption machine, and we're just like hanging on for dear life as creators with it. So, I always describe websites as like this it's a living, breathing document, right? Like it's supposed to be ever changing, ever evolving, always updating. Maybe every month, maybe every 2 months, 3 months, depending on what, and then structurally, like a restaurant, every 3 to 4 years, you should probably be looking at doing a refresh, right?
Yep.
Maybe 5 year, 5, 6 tops, but you gotta constantly be looking to re-evolve, like evolve the platform that you've built and set the tone, right? And that's why I don't disagree. I think having that web, having the webs. That's why I said to Sam, like, no, 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 no. I think a website is like it might just be like just under the importance of an email, because like again with the email, if you've already built that email list, like you already have a whole bunch of contacts and things of that specific user base that you're going to sell to, like ding ding, like just start sending those emails, just start getting some sales. Then
Yeah.
you can hire yourself a web developer, and you don't have to do through the troubles of like, I don't know how to do a website. Like I get it. It's not necessarily that simple if you're really not that if you not that in tune with technology. But I still think that having at least a single page, the way I can see it at the end was at least get your domain name.
Yeah.
Because, and I used the example of keepamericagreat.com was not purchased by the Trump campaign, apparently. So
Yeah.
Biden's kind of campaign bought it and, ran wild with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
It's crazy. And so here's the thing. Like, yes, do that. But here's what's worse with email marketing, in my opinion, is people who, and I made this mistake younger in my career when I first started my business. I grew a big email list and then I never emailed them.
well, that's what, and she and Sam was on me about that before as well with the Indie Pod, because like we would email only a handful of times a year, and one of the commitments I made was getting an actual account for Aweber instead of like, oh, I'm using the MailChimp so I can send like 3 emails or 4 emails a month, but then like I never actually end up doing that.
Yep.
So switching it over to Aweber so I could send an unlimited amount of emails, and I'm curating content nearly daily here in the community. So I just, to me, like I got to get on that horse of like, okay, I'm going to, like, we created this thing. Like we're going to get off this call. I'm going to go create the email, send it out.
Yep. Yeah, it makes a huge difference. And I mean, you and I have talked about this. Consistency is a game changer. And I think everyone thinks, hey, I was consistent for 3 months and I didn't get any results. And I'm just like, oh my God, seriously?
Well, the messaging might have been wrong. The people that you were targeting might have been wrong. Like there's so many variables to that.
But 3 months isn't really that long of a time when you think about somebody making a purchasing decision, right? Like, and building trust on the internet. Yes, some people are going to buy immediately because that's how some people make buying decisions, while other people might mull it over for 6 months, right?
Yep.
And there's every type of buyer in between. And depending upon the price point of your product, it varies greatly, and I just think like consistency is, if you tried something and you were, 90% consistent for an entire year and you did your homework of looking at the art and the science of it, looking at the data and seeing, oh, this resonated, this didn't, and made adjustments accordingly, fine, we can have a conversation about what's not working after you've done it consistently for a year. And really it's crazy, but that's what it takes, because that's what it takes to build a community, and that's what it takes to really start to see conversions and get that true proof of concept where you can consistently convert people over time.
And at that point, it should be getting easier for you as a whole anyway.
Yeah.
Like to create that content, it shouldn't be as much of a struggle, because it's a muscle, right? Like when I was doing the daily vlogging, like, it just turned into like a regular thing. It wasn't shy about talking on the camera that I'm holding in front of me, staying at the aquarium or anything like that. Like, but you get a week out, 2 weeks out, 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out from being in there, and it's just like, do I really want to pull the camera out and like have everybody like looking at me, like what is he doing? That it just, the muscle starts to deteriorate, and you even with this, like just sitting here and having a conversation, like if I wasn't doing it every single day, to me it just gets harder and harder the longer I go away from doing it. That's why, like, even when I go on vacation next week, I will probably still do Facebook Lives. They might not, not going to be these calls with people here,
Yeah.
sitting next to me, but I'm going to do something because I don't want to lose that muscle memory of
Yeah.
being able to jump on and do it.
Yeah.
So
And people always, I've heard it, I've seen it, I've witnessed it, I've experienced it with clients and in my own business. The first 100 are the hardest to earn.
yeah,
And once you have that first 100, it's all downhill from there. Because the first 100 is like the information that you need to be able to make decisions.
yeah,
Once you get those first 100 people in the membership or the first 100 people that have bought your product or program, you then have enough data to then say, oh, Facebook, look, here's 100 people who bought something from me. Go make a lookalike audience out of this and find people that are like this, and then you can also pull those people because like 100 is enough people to then say, what are the demographics? What are the things that they have in common? What are the vibrant threads that weave across all these things? Oftentimes I see people like, well, I got 10 people. What can I learn from this? Like, what should I be doing with this data? And yes, you can get some information from that, but you're probably not going to be able to see all the similarities in only 10 people. Right. And I know that sounds crazy, but
because you might have 10 subsections of people that actually are like that want to be a part of it. You just haven't amplified it to get it to 100. So you're like, oh, I have 10, 10, 10, and 10.
Right.
Or, well, 10 times 10. And because I know math. But it's just one of those things. You're right. Like you don't know. There might be 3 subsections, and of the 10 people, you don't even know. Like they're unknown unknowns. You don't even know what brings those people together to make them all still want to be involved with your product, your service, your podcast, your whatever.
Yeah, first 100 are the hardest.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I know for sure that. So no, so to bring it back to Facebook ads, I think so. All right, so let's recap here, right? So boosting ads still down, even though I mean I don't know about the last year, but like a year or so ago, I remember some of my friends having a lot of success with boosting. All of a sudden, like they had tried boosting in the past, and it was like there's money down the toilet. And then all of a sudden, like maybe a year and maybe it was even closer to 2 years ago, like all of a sudden they had much more success with just hitting that boost button. And I don't know if that's going away because I haven't heard anybody talk about how successful it's been for them lately. But I mean, generally, I try to discourage them from doing it too. But like I said, some people that I'm friends with do it and have actually had success. But again, that's been a while since I've heard anyone talk about how much success they had with it.
So here's the thing with boosting. If you have like a retail business, right, where you have a specific location where you want to drive traffic or a restaurant, boosting can work for your business. If you have a really solid Facebook page with an engaged audience and you didn't do anything weird, strange to gain new followers, yes, you will, using the boost button, you'll get that ad in front of the people who like your page and their friends. You'll get that ad in front of the people who are within a specific area. But for the vast majority of people, boosting just doesn't work. So it does work for some people, especially if you just like, I want to get this in front of the people who like my page. You can boost and that's fine. But like that to me, when you boost something, you're just driving engagement to a particular ad, which for the most part is not a great way to measure success with an ad campaign.
Well, yeah, because the post that you're boosting probably wasn't an ad to begin with.
Correct.
So it probably didn't have, the thought behind it of what you were trying to drive to necessarily, or, yeah. So I get that. I get that. And then creating those custom audiences based on who's watching your videos and how long they're watching those videos. That's definitely helpful, and sending people to a video so you can gauge who's actually interested and whittle it down from there. There's a ton. So you should definitely go back to rewatch this video. I will probably be referencing this video myself at some point in the near future to do that. Once we get past the Indie Pod Con 6 event. It's live, it's virtual, it's happening this weekend, September 12th and 13th. This lady over here is speaking at it. I think two o'clock on the 12th. I think. I don't know if I'm right on that. Let me see. No, I am wrong. Where are you at? Oh, you're 4:45 p.m. Talking about Facebook ads. So we're talking more about Facebook ads on this Saturday. So if you want to get more about Facebook ads, go over to indiepodcasters.com/icon6 and get your ticket today before the conference. Excuse me, I was to say runs out, but happens. It's 80s theme. Jamie, what are you wearing for the 80s?
I have no idea yet.
You have no. I ordered a pair of sunglasses. I have a shirt, though. I have some other things I probably should wear because I set up a second camera so I could stand up through part of the day. Though I don't know if I'll actually be using it. We'll see because it's kind of tricky. Like it, yeah. I'm not sure if I'll be using it.
I have a lot of neon like athleisure, so
There you go.
That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna find some old school headbands, maybe some wristbands.
So we'll all be on video. We're going to have a great time. There's workshops and tons of speakers, over 30 speakers, Hall of Fame speakers included, speakers from all over the world. So even though we won't be together, it will definitely feel like we are all together. We'll be having, lunch breakout rooms so you could meet and mingle with other podcasters and get to hopefully meet some people that you don't know or catch up with people that you do know you just haven't had a chance to speak with. And yeah, it's gonna be a great time. I'm looking forward to the 2-day event. So go to indiepodcasters.com/icon6 to get your ticket. And yeah, that's all I got. Jamie, what do you got? How can people reach out to you and connect with you and work with you?
Yeah, I'm Jamie Palmer on all Facebook and Instagram things. You can also find my business page at Outlier Marketing Group. With me, Jamie Palmer.
And I was just recently on your show, so you should go and check that out.
Yeah, it came out last week. I got to promote it on my social media.
I know, I got to promote it too. I have like four interviews I got to post and schedule, so I'll have to schedule them out. But
I literally have it on my task list for today to put it out that you were on.
Nice.
I'm so excited about speaking this weekend. I'm sure it'll be a blast.
Yeah, it's definitely should be a fun time. So there's the episode with me. If you go to OMG or outliermarketinggroup.com/OMG-radio and scroll down just a hair, and you will find our episode there talking all about Indie PodCon. So Jamie, thank you so much for being a guest again.
No problem.
It was always great to talk to you, and I look forward to getting you on the Super Joe Pardo show. I think in like a month or so, something like that. So we'll be talking more specifically about business, and it'll be a good time. So awesome. Everybody, have a great day. I will see you tomorrow for a training Thursday. I should have looked it up. Actually, no, wait. Oh, we don't have anybody for Training Thursday tomorrow because I have a whole bunch of things. So maybe what I'll do is do a short video or something talking about, I don't know, some topic. I'll come up with something between now and then. It's not a problem. Yeah. So I will see you all tomorrow for Training Thursday. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. Thanks again, Jamie.
Thanks.